Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Well, let's take a look at some stocks on the move today in Europe. I'm Stephen Carroll with Lizzie Burton, and we're joined by Bloomberg reporter Chloe Mellet. Chloe, good morning.
Good morning.
Continued flight disruption, of course, with the conflict continuing in the Middle East. You've been looking at the shares in Wizz Air this morning.
Yeah, and they are down quite significantly, and that is because Wizz Air just cut its guidance because of that ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The disruption has meant, of course, a lot of flight cancellations, and it also has led oil prices to spike, and so that means, of course, higher fuel costs that now Wizz Air has to absorb. And so Wizz Air expects the disruption to hit its net profit by 50 million euros for fiscal 2026, and then analysts are also saying that the impact could extend and even deepen into fiscal 2027. And so some analysts have said that this profit warning really shows the group's lack of resilience, that there's, little profitability, really high financial leverage. And it's also worth noting that Wizz Air is also very exposed to that Middle East region, much more than maybe other airlines as well. So it might be that Wizz Air is uniquely badly prepared for such a disruption, and that the rest of the industry might be a little bit better positioned. But given the magnitude of the impact, all the flight cancellations that we've seen, it's likely that we'll see more airlines coming out in the next few days or weeks and clarifying that earnings impact.
And another sector that's, of course, hugely impacted by this is logistics. And we've heard from DHL this morning. How are they faring, Chloe?
Yeah, they took a bit of a hit this morning because the 2026 guidance came in a little bit lower than expected. And some of that cautious approach is related to that disruption in the Middle East, given that DHL is likely to be impacted by the closure of airspace. So analysts have noted that the margins for freight carriers like FedEx and UPS and DHL as well are impacted, will be impacted because of longer transit times, driving up fuel costs. And so it's essentially a similar story to Wizz Air and others, but it's about cargo planes rather than those passenger planes. The one thing that DHL does have going for it is that it's quite a diversified company. It has a post and parcel business. It has an e-commerce business. So the model is not as threatened maybe by those fuel costs as airlines are, for instance. But the guidance is still conservative. It does indicate a degree of caution going into 2026, and therefore we're seeing the shares down this morning.
Okay, and away from the events in the Middle East, you've been also looking at the shares in STMicro, an eventful day.
Yeah, well, while all of this is happening in Iran, the AI trade has faded into the background a little bit, but it's still very relevant. And so we had Broadcom in the US coming out with very strong earnings, very upbeat outlook as well, saying that it expects the sale of AI chips to top $100 billion in 2027. And so we've seen that positive read across into the likes of STMicro, but also BE Semiconductors, ASML today, because this outlook from Broadcom suggests continued investment in AI, and quite good order visibility as well for those companies within that supply chain. And then for STMicro specifically, what also pushed the shares in the green today was the CEO saying that data center related revenue would be well above $1 billion for next year. And so the number that a lot of investors and analysts are going to keep coming back to is that the world's four biggest hyperscalers, which are Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft, are planning to spend a combined $650 billion on data centers just this year. And so this is really a major opportunity for everyone involved, all of the companies involved within that supply chain. And that includes STMicro, which was doing pretty well today.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.